The rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
All right, here we go. Shalom, Salama, Siyemi, Shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you this morning. This beautiful morning. Today is December 8th. Some may ask, where did this year go? Some may ask, is this going to get better? I know a lot of our people are asking, is this going to get better? And you have to understand, a lot of our people are not obviously awakened. We're going to talk about some of this stuff, and I don't have much time to talk about it, but I have to talk about it. Because one of the things that came up on Friday. And the crazy thing about all this, it didn't even hardly make any type of news. And I sat back in the cut. I just want to see who was gonna make some noise about this first. Generally, in stories like this, I kind of will defer to Yakoba or Teyu, because I'm like, this has to go to a larger audience. I want to see what our brothers are saying. before I quip, I put in my 2 cents. But I was praying about it, and the Most High said, "Hold off." He said, "Hold off." I'm like, "But Father, you know how big this is?" He said, "Hold off." And so that weekend, this Saturday, I was disconnected. If y'all are doing things on Saturday, I really don't get a chance to see very much. And this Saturday was particularly of importance because my son was getting ready to go out of the country, him and his friends. And there are a couple instructions I wanted to give to him because this year was a lot different than last year. The circumstances that we're in, it's a lot different. Some personal circumstances are a lot different. And it was funny because I had to reflect on the year and what that truly was looking like and why it came to be. You know, when you give that decomposition, right? When you give kind of that forensic analysis, wow. And so I was explaining to him. I said, "Son, be careful because we're in a different position than what we were in last year." And not breaking anything down, you know. But I just gave him that information and he understood. He has understood what's been working and transpiring behind the scenes. He understands what I do in terms of talking to these different organizations, these different countries, these different people that are very influential. That's what I do behind the scenes. Before I go any further, I just want to say that I yesterday I wrapped up my NeoDiplomatic Corps cohort for fall of 2025. Congratulations to my cohort, my fall cohort. They joined my summer cohort. And being successfully trained for neo-diplomatic engagements. And the funny thing is that in the summer cohort, I said, well, this and this and this. And the fall cohort, it was like, oh, I need to build more because of the amount of activities that's going on. And the one thing that I've realized that we're all training. In the Most High's kingdom, you're always training. You're training to train to train to train. You know, the funny thing is when you read Deuteronomy, you'll read the Song of Moses. So, and the Song of Moses, he says this. He says, "Train the people in this song from generations to generations." The word was always about us training and being trained. But the word also gave us the understanding of how to fight because what we didn't know was that the Most High already knew that we were going to be some wicked and stubborn people. And that's what we have been in this generation. All of us. No one's mightier than thou. All of us, myself included. But what makes this so interesting is that when you understand that our weapons of warfare, they're literally not carnal, and that our weapons of warfare is literally our voice, and it's literally praise. See, why do you think that they get mad if you're not praising their Elohim? Have you noticed that? You know, the great thing is I was watching some video and I caught up to Sister Shonda's video yesterday. It was a very short video, very quick, 6 minutes, and she was on and she was talking, and she was moved, and you know the funny thing is the conversation that Sister Shonda had was really the very same conversation that we had a couple months ago when we met up at Philadelphia Atlanta Church in Atlanta. When we were sitting with the congregation, and we have to understand that the way that we have presented our message as Israelites has literally been crude. It has. It's been couth. Now, when you take what Yahusha stated, Yahusha wasn't in there just being obnoxious. I actually don't know where that came from, but I do know where that came from. That didn't come from us. It actually didn't come from our people because it doesn't actually come from the word. No, it's not for us to be rolled over and just, hey, just, if you don't like the message, just, here's the back of my neck and you go from there. No, it doesn't say that either. A lot of what we have shown and demonstrated isn't even technically biblical. It's just the reality. We've understood a doctrine of men. And in that doctrine of men, there's always a trap that's laid out. They're not going to tell you the trap. Hey, get into your flesh, get carnal. So when you get judged, you're going to be judged just along with everybody else. Because the trap was for you and I and everyone to always get into that carnality, to get into our feelings, and not to truly understand the loving redemption that the Most High had for his people to bring us out of this captivity. We're to be a light unto the nations. Maybe not this nation, but to the nations. Even if this nation is forsaken, guess what? We're still to be a light unto the nations. How did you endure all this? How'd you go through all this? How'd you live through all this? Well, we were commanded to be a light. Now, you can yell, you can scream, you can throw all sorts of remonstrations and all sorts of gyrations. That's up to you. You could do all that, but I'd rather just talk to people in love, because guess what? They can't say anything to you. Hey, look, I know y'all did us wrong, but guess what? I'm commanded to love you as I love myself. And if I was talking to myself with all this stuff and craziness going on, I tell myself to repent. I tell myself to get in my prayer closet and figure this thing on out. And that's why the Most High is doing what he's doing, especially to my people. Isn't that what you would want to do? Isn't that why you'd want to repent? Not to be in arrogance, not to repent so you can do wickedness again. And then guess what? You're paying the same price in that wickedness because the Most High sees your vanity. He sees your heart. And you want to know what? The funny thing is, we've been saying that message for a couple years now. And you want to know what? They didn't listen. And now they are in trouble. And now they're still trying to turn to us to fix everything. And they're surprised. They're surprised. They're wondering, why are we giving them the cold shoulder? No matter what they say, no matter what they do, no matter how much they try to psychologically get us to move, because of psychological manipulation. This was the crux of the message this morning. We had gone through psychological warfare. We see that with Venezuela. We understand that with how come they haven't moved on Venezuela yet? You want to know why? Because it's all about psychological warfare. They're looking at Venezuela to strike first. And guess what? All I could think of was the scripture. Resist the enemy and he will flee. Resist the devil and he will flee. Resist Hasatan and he will flee. That's all I could think of. Just resist. Don't give into the psychological warfare. Don't give into, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to. Look, every time you draw into your flesh, oh, well, guess what that does? That gives the enemy all the authorities in the courts of heaven to go after you. You step out of Yahusha's protection. You step out of his shadow. You step out of his fortress. You step out of his tower. And now we see that happening with us. We've learned to not engage and not step out of the tower. And I don't even care if you're awake or you're not. How many times have they wanted us on the streets to protest? We need you to come and participate. We need you to voice your support. I'm not voicing anything. I'm not supporting anything. I'm not doing anything. Because why? Because the Most High's got me, and I'm going to stay put in his tower, in his refuge. I'm going to stay put in the shadow of his wings. I'm going to stay put in his love. I'm going to stay put in his mercy. Because why? Because he has me covered. You know, the reality is that even when you're seeing what's happening with the Somalis, that doesn't give me any pleasure to see them going through what they're going through. It doesn't. But the reason they're going through what they're going through is because they didn't stay put. They thought that they could run to a tower called the United States. They thought that they could run to a tower where they were going to be protected and this and that, and they were going to be given all the wealth and everything else, but they seem to forget that there is a people group here, us. And this isn't about any type of FBAs or things of that nature. This is about Judah. This is about the Yahudim that were here under judgment. This was about a chasing of vanity, and that vanity got them caught. That vanity was the snare. And it was a snare for so many people. And we were telling them it's a vanity game, it's a vanity trap. And now that vanity trap is being sprung. I said this. How I pray I was always wrong. But when the Most High lets you have understanding, you're going to really be able to understand. And it then becomes, it's a burden. And it's kind of like, well, we said it was coming, and they didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to listen. And now they're in trouble. Because why? They have no tower. They have no refuge. They had literally forsaken their land. And in their land is all sorts of resources. Yes, it is. Excuse me. In their land is all sorts of cobalt and all sorts of gold and silver and everything else that's being pillaged, while they're getting paid crumbs by allegedly, and I'm going to say allegedly, defrauding Medicaid and Medicare, defrauding public assistance. Why? Because that's what they were allowed to do. It's not that they were not caught. Are you kidding? They can catch us with any type of monetary impropriety like that. Get out of here. Let us do something in some sort of crazy manner. We get caught like that. No, they allowed him to do it. And then when this government basically told them, we don't have use for you anymore. Now, all of a sudden, the government's pulling out all sorts of receipts. Isn't that amazing? We strive our best to be in compliance. I was working on something in the background. I'm still working on that with our ministry partners in the different channels. And I had said something because we wanted to get things taken care of. And Q2A is a 501c3. It is that donation vehicle to support the community. And I said this. And you know, and it grieved me because a couple years ago I would have been like, yeah, let's do this. We got it. All right, here we go. But then I said this. I said, hold on. I said it's going to take at least a month for me on my part to get ready. And I said it's going to take a month because I have to get my people ready. And then when I get my people ready, my people have to understand. And when they understand, they have the process. And when they process, they're going to come up with the processes and the procedures. And then that's when we'll be ready to go to be able to spin up the support. Now, I'm going to tell you this. A lot of folks, they got kind of disappointed because, and I could tell, and I felt bad, but I said, no, I had to, because I saw what happened when we did rush jobs in the past. And for me, I always hate being that bureaucratic gatekeeper. Because then for me, I would always say, well, you know what? I'll just get it taken care of. I'll just. And that was a moment of growth in my leadership. Shout out to our QT family, because they truly do not get the appreciation in terms of what we were doing with driving the container, what we were doing with the maintenance of the organization that has then reached beyond levels that we can understand in the international community. That's all I can tell you. Within the international community. And I told him this a couple weeks ago. I said, wait, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. I gave him the specifics. And I said, I need your help. It was on our Wednesday night meeting. I said, I need your help, because this is a mission that we can do that directly impacts our family, especially this time of need. Now, understand, it takes us a little bit of time to process. And I get it. I truly get it. I truly appreciate it. It took about 2 weeks for people to truly process it, because I had to go over and I had to go over and I had to go over. But I've learned that that's what we have to do as a people, because our people, and it's not to denigrate anybody, that's just how we do. That's just how we are. We have to be able to get it digested. We have to be able to get it in our core, and we have to be able to understand, oh, okay, I get it. Oh, okay. Now, in the real world, excuse me, not the real world, I'm not going to say that. In Babylon, they say if you don't have it by now, you're going to get fired. So we operate, but we don't actually truly understand what we're operating on. We get instructions, but we're really never comfortable with instructions because we never really process those instructions. So we're always doing things in a manner that does not feel very confident. Everything that we do. Give me a 1 if I'm lying. Give me a 2 if I'm telling the truth about that. In the chat. Let's be interactive. The most of the times we feel uncomfortable with what they're telling us. If you get direction, you only get that direction once. Give me 1 if you're going to feel uncomfortable, if you get the direction once. Give me a 2 if you feel comfortable when you have those directions multiple times. Sorry with my surveying. Give me a 1 if you're going to feel uncomfortable getting something told to you once. Give me a 2 if you're going to be comfortable when it's told to you again and again, repetitively. I'm a 2 all day. Because why? Because I have to think about, I have to analyze, I have to regurgitate, I have to look at the value, I have to look at benefits, I have to look at the structure. I got to see what falls apart and what gets reinforced. We all look for that. But in the system of Babylon, guess what? Babylon's so reactive that it doesn't ever proactively support anything. And then this is what we do. Then we look at ourselves like we're inadequate because they can't even explain anything. And then they look at you all crazy. Why didn't you get that? Well, this should be something easy. Well, that should be something easy. Then you say to them, well, then you explain it to me. And you give me all the aspects. And then what do? They get mad. And when they get mad, they get angry. And when they get angry, they say, because I hear it all the time and I see it all the time, come on, you know what they say. I know y'all can read minds. We have a special kind of telekinesis thought process to us. Come on now. What do they always tell us? Starts with the D. Come on. Why do you want to be so? Come on in the chat. Why do you want to be so difficult? Well, defiance, one word. Brother Howard, that's one word. But you usually hear that all the time. Well, the defiance it stems from the difficult when you continue to ask the questions because then they can't give you answers. But it's that first iteration. They say, why do you want to be so difficult? Look, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to get understanding. I'm trying to make sure that what I'm doing is legal or not. I'm trying to make sure that what I'm doing is in compliance. I'm trying to make sure that what I'm doing does not threaten this organization or threaten me or threaten us or okay. All right, let's take a listen. Let's take a look. Let's figure this on out. Let's bring out the paperwork. Here's the bylaws. Here's the 501c3 paperwork. Here's this. Here's that. Here's what we can do. This is how we can operate. Here it is. This is how we're legally protected. And guess what? We review it every couple of months. Because why? Because we're in compliance. And then guess what? We have witnesses. Here's this. Here's that. Here's this. Here's that. And you know what that does? That builds the case for us to trust one another. Oh, I could have just said, you know what? Well, they're waiting on us. And I'll just do it myself. But I said, no. That's why I'm getting so tired. I'm trying to do everything myself. I said, no. That's my problem. My problem is I have to trust. And let me tell you, yesterday we had a great working session. We had products there, and I said, this is awesome. I gave them some instructions of what needed to be done. But the more they understood, especially as our people, the more we understand things, the greater it is of what we get out in terms of the results. And then we continue to build, and then we continue to polish. And then guess what? That becomes something that then we're able to articulate, and we're able to stand in confidence and say, this is going to be the best. Why? Because we went through and we looked and we understood and we provided all of the factors. Exactly, Pastor Rick. Let patience. And that's what it was. In this society, you don't have patience. Have you noticed that they don't have patience anymore? And then their patience falls into failures. Well, I need it now. I need it quick. Oh, what's the problem? What's this? What's that? I wanted some things to happen a couple of months ago with some of the things I have going on in the background. I surely did. I truly did. In the business world, things are usually done in about a month or so, not 6 months, not a year. And our people think with our people, if you notice, things are done at a much slower process. And we may say that that's, well, they do that on the continent. That's Africans. No, no. That's even done here. We process things slower. We even say take our time, slow down. Because when we're dealing with our people, we deal with our people a whole lot different. I hear what you're saying. It sounds good, but I'm gonna slow down. So understand when you're dealing with our people, give whatever is normally done in their environment, times that by 3. If it's a month, it's at least 90 days. If it's 2 months, that's at least 180 days. And it's not to say that our people aren't capable. It's not to say that our people don't have the wherewithal. No, it's that our people are always careful when we're dealing with other people because we're learning how to build up trust. We're learning how to build up our name. It doesn't matter how long you've been in front of them. It doesn't even matter what you show them in terms of the works. It doesn't. Oh, you did that? You did this? You did that? You did this? Oh, okay. Would you be willing? Let me talk about this. Let me find out about this. Uh okay. But we still have people in Jamaica that's still suffering. Yeah, I know, but well, ooh, no, the Jamaica thing is not on the back burner. Our relief efforts are not on the back burner with Jamaica. It is not. You just have to understand that in the background, I'm dealing with building up a relationship. And understand when you're dealing with the relationship on the continent, it ain't that big of a deal for them to go years. Oh, we finally saw what you're doing. We finally understood. Well, you finally. Do you understand why our people don't do very well in relief efforts and relief campaigns? I was thinking about the videos that were being put on out, and shout out to you again, Yakoba, for sharing that with the second Exodus videos and things of that nature. And I had to kind of laugh with the flights and the boats and everything else. And I said, well, I could see that happening. Normally it wouldn't take that long, but I said, I could see that happening at least the end of 2026, 2027. That would take years and coordination. Years. At least 5 to 6 years. And it's not to say that we can't do it, but it would be years. The only reason that we actually move is when we're threatened. And when we're threatened, that's when we actually move. And I had to understand that internationally speaking, there's still a lot of things that go on. It's kind of hard and difficult for folks to understand. Yep. Thank you, Ivan. I was ready to say that. Like in Portugal, like in Spain. See, when those threats begin to have actions, that's when our people start to realize, oh, something may come about. We may have to actually understand some things. We may have to actually deal with some things. And let me tell you what usually goes on. Because as I had stated earlier, and I'm going to put this on in here before I'm going to cover this article. I knew I had a lot of stuff to cover. This is from the BBC. Now, you can take the BBC with a grain of salt. I know Brother Asaph is, well, no Brother Asaph there in Londinium. They'll take that with a grain of salt. This is BBC America, Jack. Oh, so we get a little less of that, little less of the filter. Maybe. U.S. Supreme Court agrees to hear case challenging birthright citizenship. Oh boy. Don't. The birthright, boy. The citizenship, boy. Squale. Don't. Had to come back with that, old school Cameron. Wait, this will never happen. How many times did I hear that a couple months ago? I explained this a couple months ago. I was explaining how this was happening. I was explaining the mechanisms. I was explaining. Don't get comfortable in here. They're plotting. They're getting everything together for the legalese to get you evicted. Yep, reimmigration. And yes, the common threat will unify a divided people. Oh yeah, because then what happens to all those FBAs? All of a sudden they're going to be saying, "Oh, we need to talk to some Pan-Africanist." Because understand what will then happen. This will be the worst nightmare for a lot of people. But I thought that we lived here. I thought I was born here. I thought up until they challenged birthright citizenship. Do you ever think why Trump and the Trump administration they're doing all of these illegal acts and activities? Have you ever thought why they know that they're setting themselves up for the ICC and the ICJ? Because they're setting up the legal precedent. Well, we have a birthright citizenship and we have this and we have that, and it's being challenged because here's the complex nature of it. And I've stated it, and I'll state this, and I'll make this thing plain for you. when they finally hear the case adjudicated in front of the ICC and the ICJ regarding our legal status of over a couple hundred years, we're technically kidnapped. We're kidnapped. As a kidnapped people, as a people living with, let's just face it, Stockholm syndrome, technically speaking, they'll say we have no psychological wherewithal to be able to even understand our position. And therefore, as a people suffering grave psychological abuse, and yes, we do, they cannot listen. I don't care what you say. I don't care how you say it. I don't care what labels you want to give yourself. If you look crazy and you act crazy, you crazy. Why do you think these Somalis are told, well, we're really not black? Because why? Because we're crazy. Don't label me with them. I'm kind of Caucasian. I'm kind of this. I'm kind of that. I'm kind of Arab. I'm kind of everything but black. Because why? Because black folks in America, they're crazy. Why are they crazy? Because they suffered from what? Human trafficking. Why is that? Because they were brought here illegally. Why is that? Why is that? So do you understand these mechanisms? That's why people are getting mad at Trump, because Trump is exposing America to legal remittances, i.e., they go up to the Supreme or to the ICC and the ICJ, and guess what they'll say? They're here legally. But don't worry, you got 14th Amendment, and 14th Amendment will say, yep, you understand, we have to redo that, or it's being upheld because, or it may not be upheld. It may actually have to be constitutionally visited. If you're a person that's brought on over here, if you're a person we are, again, as Obadiah stated, we are trafficked. We're a multi-generationally trafficked people. I pray that our people can get this. I pray that our people are understanding the framework and the logic that they're putting together. To deal with our people, to deal shrewdly with us. Well, we have a third of the people gone, and guess what? We'll be able to bring our economy back because, they're out of here. Well, I thought that they're only 13%. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. You know that those government it was Biden's fault for how much he lied. It was Biden's fault for the administration not properly accounting for the African Americans. Oh, don't worry. All the and even folks that may be passing don't even know that they're passing in their family. Oh, they're gonna get a rude awakening. Wait a second, I'm light bright. Actually, I thought it was white. Ah, no, you actually no, you're not. You still fall within about 4 generations. We make it 5 just to be on the safe side. What? You're telling me my Meemaw? She was African American. She was black? What? We may laugh, but consider this. That's not going to be funny. Especially when you grow up here in the South and you see a lot of folks, and it's like, man, are you sure you're not black? Are you sure? Because you look, there's some things that are awfully phonetic. Yeah, I don't know. Those lips are awfully. I don't know. Those ears are. Those eyes. That nose. Ah. Oh, there's gonna be some people having some long faces. Y'all act like they don't be taking blood samples when children are born. Get out of here. What do they do? Genetic testing to make sure that you don't have any type of genetic disease. Oh, that would be over with, Ivan. That would be over with. That you have to descend from a white woman. The white tea. Nope. That'll be over with. Everybody's out. I'm just giving you all the facts. I'm telling you all what's getting ready to happen. You know why? Because there's precedent. And that precedent is in Europe. And have you ever noticed why the Vatican never wanted to open up the histories of Europe? I wonder why. Because they don't want you to see the precedent. You have to go and you have to understand the precedent from Joao Manuel, from Spain and Portugal during the Iberian connection. You have to look at literally all of the historical books when you're talking about Sevilla and Cordoba, and to get the understanding of what that dumb diverses meant and what that Spanish Inquisition was all about, and why those books are not in English. But thanks to good old AI translation, they can bring it to life. Oh boy, does that not sound like Daniel chapter 12 to me? You better believe it. I have that link for this BBC in the chat, and you can also Google it. It's amazing that they didn't even want to touch this on YouTube, on Google. Why? Because that destroys a lot of people. That destroys a lot of people's comfort zones. Why are they bringing it up right now? Because I think I said this. This is about April time frame, and then July, and then October. So then by next year, because this time next year, then they're going to be able to mobilize the quote unquote reimmigration offices that Rubio talked about. Oh my goodness. Oh my yeah. Say it ain't so. Say it's not so. Now everything is starting to make sense, isn't it? Now you're starting to look at the roadmap, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm just a crazy, bright, black man, yellow black man. You ain't gotta say you don't have to listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I says, yes, sirs. Oh, it's good. I love. Oh, it's looking good. Oh, that Diddy. Oh my goodness, so Diddy with that Diddy. Oh, that 50 Cent, he be so petty. Oh, I want to know about the next rap beefs and battles. How's that going to work on the continent? I want to watch TikTok until the day that I get taken up on out of here. That doesn't make sense, does it? But now you're starting to see what this fight of the future is looking like. You want to know why our families didn't really like us? You want to know why our families looked at us all crazy? Because you want to know what we were saying was something that they couldn't reconcile. They knew that this was coming. They just wanted us to look all crazy and be all crazy. Because why? Because they had to deal with the crazy. When you are dealing with a nation full of crazies, being sane makes you look crazy. That's why a lot of people don't like to mess with America, because this is a nation full of crazies. It was interesting when I understood that scenario when I was over in Jordan talking to a Frenchman. And he said, "Look, we know America's crazy. So we kind of have to deal with you all differently." This is in 2017. They could see the writing on the wall. And now here we are. The question that needs to be asked of ourselves is, are we going to be able to reconcile that that writing is on the wall? So with that said, family, I got to get up on out of here. If you'd like to support this channel, you may do so. It does do a lot. I got to get up on out of here because I got phone calls I got to make before I get in this classroom. Because if you didn't know, that helps support different activities that the Most High has allowed for me to do on behalf of his people. And you may not understand, you may not see, you may not truly appreciate what's happening in the background until it comes to the foreground. Excuse me. And it's coming to that foreground quicker than anything that we can expect or imagine. So with that said, family, most high willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. I hope to see you here bright and early, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, if you'd like to know what that fight of the future looks like, if you haven't already gotten your copy of The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS, take a look. Understand what that means. If you want to know how to prepare yourself for that fight of the future, visit NeoDiplomacy.com. Visit NeoDiplomacy.com and sign up for some of our classes on out there to at least get you the introduction. Sign up for your family. Give them a stocking stuffer for those that are still celebrating Saturnalia, aka Christmas. So with that said, family, most high willing, I'll be back on here tomorrow. And with that, be blessed, family. So shalom, salama, siyeme, shalom, peace and blessings, Yasharel.